Today we will look into the story of a girl who lost her life to a lie. Let us take a look at the interrogation of the murderer with the most insane twist you'll ever see or witness. On March 10, 2012, Annie Karsprazak, a 15-year-old girl, disappeared without a trace, leaving her adoptive parents in a state of distress. Yes, you heard me right. Annie had been adopted by the Karsprazak family at the age of 9 after growing up in foster care. Born on January 10, 1997, she had experienced an abusive childhood. The prospect of a new life with a loving family must have seemed like a relief, especially after her longing for love during her 9 years in foster care. Did she have the time to have enough of it? Sadly, no. Tragically, she didn't have the chance to enjoy this new chapter in her life for long before she vanished without a trace on the 10th of March 2012. Immediately swam into action in the search of her life. 15-year-old Annie was a freshman at the Summit Academy in Draper, Utah. On March 11, 2012, just one day after Annie was reported missing, a call to 911 extinguished the flicker of hope that she would be found alive and Karsprazak would have a happy life again.
12678 South?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm just below the golf course where there's a bridge for the pathway that you can cross to go up to the golf course. There's like two big piles of blood, and there's splatter blood all over the bridge, and then right along the edge of the water, there's like a red kid shoe in there.
A jogger made a crucial call to 911 on that day, reporting bloodstains and a single red shoe on a pedestrian bridge spanning the Jordan River. People wondered if it was an animal attack or if the shoe had ended up there by chance. Everyone hoped for it be an animal attack, including the caller and humanity at large. Annie's parents must have prayed fervently, wishing it was all a coincidence, unwilling to accept the tragic reality of their 15-year-old daughter found dead in the river. The jogger's cautious report transformed the missing persons case into a homicide investigation. Law enforcement swiftly responded, deploying officers to the scene and eventually bringing in a helicopter to aid in the search. She wore a shoe that matched the details given by the 911 caller, confirming the shoe was not a coincidence. For the investigators, discovering the body of a 15-year-old in such a horrific state was profoundly disheartening. The suffering that this young child must have endured is almost unbearable for humanity to contemplate. Her face had been severely disfigured and unrecognizable due to a forehead fracture. Her nose and left eye had sustained significant injuries. When found, her body was partially submerged in the river, leading to fluid accumulation in her lungs, dilatation in her heart's right ventricle, and hemorrhagic gastric contents. Her face was swollen, showing multiple severe fractures, including frontal bone fractures on her skull. Subsequent autopsy results confirmed the cause of death to be multiple blunt force injuries to her head.
Yeah, it's confirmed. Female, red shirt, blue jeans, caught up in the river, it's obvious.
Now that the case have confirmed the death of a child, the authority conducted a press conference expecting information that would aid the investigation. Annie Grace Karsprazak lived with her mother, Veronica Karsprazak, and stepfather, James Bratcher. On the night of March 10th, while Veronica was on a call with her sister, she realized that she hadn't seen or heard from Annie since the evening. Concerned, she went to Annie's room to check on her, only to find it empty. Veronica called out for James, and together they discovered a note in her room. The note stated that Annie was leaving for California, confessing that she had lied to some friends for sympathy, and the burden of the lie had become too heavy for her to bear. Her parents waited anxiously for her throughout the night, but when she didn't return, they reported her runaway. Veronica, Annie's mother, immediately reached out to her boyfriend, Christopher Bagshaw, desperately inquiring if he had any information about Annie's whereabouts. The next day, this terrific discovery left her parents in despair. Veronica switched on the television to see her 15-year-old's swollen body swamp the downstream of Jordan River. She immediately contacts the helpline and provides them with information about her daughter. As the police delved deeper into the investigation, a chilling moment occurred when they inquired if Annie wore braces. At this point, Veronica, already gripped by her worst fears, knew that her fears were becoming a grim reality. The confirmation of her darkest nightmare arrived with the DNA results, confirming the horrifying and tragic truth. The brutally murdered body was indeed that of her 15-year-old daughter, Annie. The police decided to pay a visit to her grieving family to know her case in deep. What is the relationship Annie had with her parents? How did Annie end up with Veronica? What would have been the motives for her runaway? Let's delve into it. Veronica Kasperzak started as an enthusiastic worker at Child Services and eventually became Annie's committed case manager. Over time, their bond grew stronger, leading to Veronica and her ex-husband, Dennis Kasperzak, adopting Annie. It was a heartwarming transformation from being her case manager to becoming her mother. However, amid this touching tale, investigators uncovered Annie's infatuation with her boyfriend, Christopher Bagshaw, by examining her journals filled with scribbles and thoughts about him. Christopher Bagshaw was interrogated as he was the closest to Annie. His father, Darwin Leroy Bagshaw, accompanied him throughout the session as he was a minor. The interrogation adhered to all state regulations, ensuring that Christopher was fully informed about the proceedings. All formalities were conducted transparently and in accordance with the established protocols.
That's when I kind of started trying to pay attention. She was kind of, they walked that way. Came that way, that's when he said, how about my turn? And she laughed and I was like, no. And he grabbed her and just flung her around into the wall. That where I was sitting today, there was that thing by me. That wasn't there before. And she went right into that wall. And blood was everywhere. All over the place. I remember
Joanna Franklin manipulated the investigation into Annie's death, exploiting it for personal revenge against John. She carefully collected details about Annie's case from news sources to purposefully put John in trouble. However, the truth about her motives surfaced after extensive and thorough interrogations involving multiple individuals.
No, it's Annie.
No, her name's
So you might know her as Brittany. Okay, tell me about Brittany.
Brittany. She's friends with Dude, did something happen to her?
Friends with who?
Dude, just tell me straight up, man.
I want to know what you have to say first.
I'll think of everything you need to know, man, because she's hella cool, dude.
John was interviewed, but John didn't even know Annie. It was later proved that John was innocent. As a result, the investigation into Annie's murder stretched over a year and remained unresolved. There were still loopholes in the case, the first being a witness who observed a man on a bike leaning over the south side barrier, peering into the river on the night Annie died. The second gap emerged when another witness near Rotary Park overheard a young person saying, "Won't get caught," at 2:30 p.m. on the day of the murder. These loopholes, along with detailed witness statements, strongly indicated the involvement of a teenager in the crime. Despite it being 2 years since the incident, investigators were still pursuing the truth, getting closer than ever before. Determined to uncover the truth, the investigators decided to interrogate again, renewing their efforts 2 years after the crime occurred. Subsequent inquiries and questioning led investigators to focus on Christopher Bagshaw, who was alongside for the ride the whole time. The crucial evidence pinpointing him included anonymous calls from a blocked number to Annie's phone, later confirmed to belong to Chris. By the time the investigators connected these dots, Chris had relocated to Colorado for his sophomore year. In response, the police took immediate action, traveling to Colorado to conduct further interrogations. Examining the case from a different angle revealed shocking truths. The bicycle seen by a witness on the night of the murder bore resemblances to Christopher's bike. The investigators had underestimated Christopher Bagshaw's ability. The pivotal moment occurred when Annie's mother, Veronica Kasperzak, called Christopher on the night she noticed Annie's absence in her room. Christopher had answered the call, claiming he didn't know anything mere minutes after taking Annie's life. Astonishingly, his phone's location was traced near the bridge, close to where Annie was found. Christopher carried this terrible secret for 2 whole years. The brutality of Annie's murder was unimaginable, especially considering it was committed by her boyfriend. Christopher was arrested after he confessed during interrogations. He pleaded guilty and was charged with first-degree murder and obstruction of justice. His motive was based on rumors about Annie's pregnancy, which he believed to be true. He suggested they meet at the bridge near the Jordan River, planning to run away. Little did Annie know he had something terrible planned. Christopher attacked her with a shovel. He killed Annie because he thought she was pregnant with his child, although autopsy reports later confirmed she was not. Annie lost her life due to a lie, and Christopher was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison.